Ladies and gentlemen, today it's really a big pleasure because on the CX Goalkeeper we have Zarina Pasalic. Hi Zarina, how are you?
Hi Greg, I'm doing great. How are you?
I am super thrilled to kick off this discussion because I think we have really an interesting topic that we want to touch. It's about digital CX in B2B, and I'm super thrilled to have somebody with your experience on the CX Goalkeeper podcast. But before we deep dive into this topic, we would like to learn more about you. Therefore, could you please introduce yourself?
Of course, and thank you for having me. Very excited to be here with you today and share some of the experiences of digital customer experience in B2B. But my name is Zarina Pasalic, and I am a director of digital experience at Cisco, a leading networking giant that delivers innovative software-defined networking, cloud, and security solutions to really help transform businesses across the world. I have spent last 20 plus years, roughly, in various roles, driving digital transformation, marketing, customer success in IT and telecommunications industry. And today, as you said, I lead digital experience at Cisco, focusing on simplifying the way our customers interact with us.
Oh, there is already one word that I really like, simplification. But before discussing about before discussing about simplification, which values drive you in your professional journey?
That's a great question. I think I would start on with probably number one that's very dear to my heart, and that's people. I value people most. I know that many businesses today measure results based on numbers and bottom line. And don't get me wrong, numbers do matter, but they're not everything. You want results, but you also have to think about who is driving those results, and it's your team. So you have to start with your people. And I worked for a great leader who taught me that a rising tide lifts all boats. And that really holds true, because we all know that people do their best, and they are at their best when they're doing the work that they are passionate about, when they are clear on their expectations, alongside a very tight community and a leader that they can trust. So the more we focus on people, the more successful we will all be. And the second one would be trust. Trust is at my core. I want to work for people that I can trust. I want to be in team that, where everyone has got each other's backs, and I trust my team to do the best work possible. Now, teams, I think, can't reach the highest level of productivity anywhere, regardless of how big or small you are. Employees can't be happy without high levels of trust. They just can't, because it builds that psychological safety that everyone craves for. The good news is there are ways to build and protect it. And it takes time, it takes very conscious effort, but it's worth it. The bad news is it's difficult to do, it's very easy to lose, and there are no shortcuts for sustainable trust building. So work on building the trust, the ultimate human currency, before it's too late.
I already feel the passion that you have for this topic, for this discussion, and therefore super keen to kick off our discussion about digital CX, in particular in B2B. How do you define digital CX?
So somebody asked me this actually last week. And I'm glad you're asking me this very same question. And that's because I think it's important that we distinguish between CX, customer experience, and DCX, digital customer experience, because I have heard both being used interchangeably. They are similar because they both relate to the word experience, but they're different. Customer experience is the new brand of any company, regardless of the size. Digital customer experience, it's how we provide that experience that our customers today expect and demand digitally. And it's how we provide our customers ability to interact with us with and through digital channels. It's about self-service, from trying to buying to being able to onboard and ultimately renew products and solutions. It's where business, tech, psychology, and art all come together, web, omni-channel, product. And it's all about connecting these digital interactions to deliver that simple, hyper-personalized, data-driven, fully connected customer experience. So I think that, the two tend to be used interchangeably. And I do think that CX is absolutely the new brand. DCX, digital customer experience, it's how your customers interact with you digitally. And you want to make that incredibly simple, very intuitive, data-driven, and just befitting for today's modern buyer.
I really like what you are sharing, and we already have our first tweetable moment. What you said, customer experience is the new branding. That's really key, and it's something that really short and understandable. Digital CX, as you said, is more the how the interactions happens with customers in B2B or B2C in the B2C world. Therefore, I'm keen to ask, why is digital CX so important, and why now?
So I have recently read a really interesting quote, and I know it by heart. And I know it by heart because it's very dear to me. And I think it speaks to the question that you're just asking. And I don't know if you know or if you came across JB Wood, who is the president of Technology Services Industry Association, recently said that digital experience will be, for the next decade, the number one determinant of any market share, regardless of the size of the company, regardless of the industry. So if that statement holds true, we have no choice but to unify around this endeavor. Now, why now? Technology is changing, as you know, the way that we live, the way that we do business, and digital tools are part of all of our daily lives, offering unprecedented level of convenience in the way we communicate and do business. Pandemic, of course, has also dramatically changed the customer experience journey and forced really businesses to engage in digital experience strategy at a rate that we've never seen before. Now, I think it's important to say that whilst a concept of that customer-first strategy, it's not new, it's a lot more demanding now than in previous years because customers live in digital channels. You and I live in digital channels each and every single day. My kids live in digital channels. And consumers, customers, kids, they expect to have access to relevant content related to their activities at any time, at any place, in their desired format, and across any device, on their terms. So I think, if you take all of these points into consideration, the lines between B2B and what you said earlier, B2C, they've become so blurred. They're almost non-existent because in the past, companies, and you'll be able to relate to this, companies used to segment their customers into B2B and B2C, and those days are gone. long gone. We live in a world where we are seeing convergence of everything at the same time with experience at its core.
It's extremely interesting what you're saying, and we can really follow that. What are the unique challenges for B2B companies?
Oh my gosh. I don't know where to start. The list is very long. I think if we just go back to what we talked about a minute ago and just remind ourselves that the lines between B2B and B2C are ever so blurred. They're almost non-existent. I think number one challenge is customer expectations have never been higher. And B2B companies are having to deliver and work really hard. They're having to deliver B2C digital experiences to survive and to remain competitive. And that's a challenge. And I'll give you a good example. Amazon is a phenomenal example of this. I feel that Amazon knows me better than I know myself.
That's true.
And the experience of interacting with Amazon, and we all know this big brand, is very convenient. It's just easy. It is so personalized. So customers that are today interacting with businesses, big IT companies, regardless of the size, with vendors, they have the same expectations when it comes to that experience. And it's really hard for B2B companies to keep pace with modern buyer today and rapid change in customer expectations. I work for Cisco today, and Cisco is a giant company aiming to give a self-service digital experience to our smallest and largest customers. And we're trying to do this at scale. We have to do it at scale because the market of scale demands it. But it's not easy because we also have a partner ecosystem. We play in multiple markets. We are selling many products in multiple markets, trying to be industry leaders. We have customers that have purchased lots of different products and solutions across many geographies that run on multiple platforms, and each may work with a handful of different partners. Plus, we have a lot of acquisitions as well. So we're working really hard to put all of these fragmented pieces, if you like, together to deliver that customer experience so that we drive greater and faster value realization for our customers based on the investment that they've made into our technology. And we need to ensure that we enable them to do this digitally. And my team today works on making that happen. So number one, absolutely, is, customer expectations are changing. Second challenge for B2B companies is insufficient budget for transformational technological change, because digital transformation is not a new imperative necessarily, yet in many cases, many companies have a long way to go, and they are yet to move from the drawing board. And number three, I think what we are witnessing is looming shortage of digital skills, because if you want to provide that full orchestration that we talked about, you have to marry and connect the experience and marry the people, the content, the platform, and unify data. All of that is very labor intensive and time consuming process. So they're they're the top three that I'm witnessing right now across B2B space.
Thank you. And I think what you're saying is extremely interesting. And it bring us also to what we discussed earlier. We spoke about simplification. I see, and I think also in your role, you see the complexity that we have nowadays in businesses. We want to keep the pace of this change, of this transformation. We need an additional technology. We create processes. We need people, shortage of skills and so on. Where should we start?
Oh, Greg. Great question, by the way. I think start by removing the complexity brought on by redundancy, brought on by inconsistency, disconnected systems, data, and properties. Technology has got to serve people, and it has got to serve user experience. And the more you simplify, and the more you connect, and the more you unify the platforms, the journeys, the data processes, the better you will show up to the market, and your customers would find it easier to interact with your brand. So I would say start with unification. Silos, we know that silos create fragmented experiences. Leave that complexity underneath, the roof of your companies, and really invest in connecting CX teams, the data, the technologies across the business, break down all possible walls to provide contextual interactions that really solve your customer needs. I think that, solid CX foundations, they pay dividends over time, and that connected, frictionless experience really strengthens the trust and the relationships. Again, it's going back to that Amazon example that we've created, that we talked about, earlier on. So there's no shortage of work. It's not an easy endeavor, but it's worth investing in it.
I think what you're saying, it's key, and it's the only way to survive in the business and in the world.
Absolutely.
What are the core principles that guide digital CX in B2B?
Okay, so three things. Number one, we tend to spend a lot of time on identifying and removing customer friction points. Committing and knowing and understanding your customer and partner, depending on who you are serving, to the very best of your ability through research. And research is something that's always on. You can't do a research, close the book, put it away. Yeah, my customer told me this and that, I'm going to fix it, and then I'll do a little bit more. No, research has to be always on. You've got to be guided by the voice of the customer. Knowing and understanding your customer, put that at the core of your work to the greatest extent that you can, so that your customers start to provide the ingredients to the cake that you are baking, if we want to use a metaphor, so that when you serve that cake to them, they kind of already have the expected taste because they've been co-designing that together with you. So I would say, number one, work with your customer to understand the expectations and to remove any friction points on their journey. Number two, everything that you do, you've got to build it for scale, because that really will help you define solutions in automation first way, because the market of scale demands it. And number three, I would say end-to-end unity. Connect the unconnected, connect the pieces that are perhaps wonderful in and of themselves, but that are disconnected from other major pieces of customer experience. So they're the core principles that I feel in digital CX and B2B space are incredibly important. And that's probably very similar in B2C world.
Exactly what you're saying. It's what you said also earlier, that B2B and B2C are coming together. We need to apply a similar principle as you shared. I'm super sorry because we are coming to the end of this game, and I would like to deep dive on every principle with you, but taking care of your time and audience time. In the extra time, I still have 3 questions for you in the last 3 minutes of this discussion. In 10 years from now, we are back on the CX Goalkeeper podcast. What we are discussing about?
For sure, the dramatic impact that AI has had on every aspect of the business. I would say that I would almost sign on a piece of paper now, come back and talk to you again in 10 years' time. I think that AI will transform everything. And, there isn't a single business discussion that I am having without AI being almost in every sentence.
And that's what I really like, that you didn't spoke about AI, because on every podcast we are listening to discussion about artificial intelligence, and these are extremely interesting, but also bringing other topics that are relevant. I'm really thankful that you brought these topics, really human-centric, focusing on the culture, what you shared at the beginning, and it's extremely interesting. And I'm sure the audience will have some questions for you. What's the best way to contact you?
Probably through LinkedIn.
And for the audience, you will find all the contact details also in the show notes. And now we are coming to the last question. Is Zarina's golden nugget? It's something that we discussed or something new to leave to the audience?
I did say earlier, I'm really passionate about people. So my golden nugget would be the kind of leader that you would want to work for.
Zarina, thank you very much. As usual, I'm not allowing myself to comment the golden nugget because it was Zarina's golden nugget. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And to the audience, for today, it's everything. I hope that you enjoyed this discussion as much as I did. It was really a great discussion, and we love feedback. Feel free to contact Zarina or to contact me for any question. I will then connect you with Zarina. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share the word of mouth. Subscribe it, share it. Until the next episode, please don't forget, we are not in a B2B or B2C business, we are in a human-to-human environment. Thank you!